the areas where you can make money in business. Because what you guys need now that you understand what money is, now you need some direction as to how can you get it. I know we talk about making money. There's 3 different verticals. The first one, the easiest one, services. This is the first avenue in kind of a business where you can make money, right? Services. By offering services. Now, services require something called sweat, time. Usually, it's your manpower, it's your sweat, and it's your time. So, most of you guys right now are broke, okay? You're poor. You don't have a ton of crazy skills, but you have sweat, aka your ability to work. You got plenty of time, and you have manpower. You have the ability to do something. Your secret weapon to get started when you don't have anything. Now, why are these 3 important? Because you are the product, right? Your service, the service that you offer, you are the product. So, right? So if you're broke, right off the bat, you can do 5 to 10 different services that would get you paid regardless of what you were doing. Anything that has to do with landscape, or pool repair service, or pressure washing streets or garages and things of this nature. All of these are services that require sweat, time, and manpower, but not a lot of skills. They are still a necessary element. This is important because the first thing that you need is your ability to make money, right? Your goal is to make money as soon as possible. So you need to start by doing businesses and being in niches where your output is in direct correlation with your input, and where the risk and return, right? The risk that you're attributing versus the return is very well balanced, to whereas you're never going to lose money. Because when you don't have money, a lot of people want to do risky business, right? They want their money to grow really fast. You need to learn and understand the fundamentals of business. When you're running services, you understand customer service, you understand customer experience, you understand customer lifetime value, how to treat an individual in order to continue supplying their needs, right? Because you're providing a continuous service. Therefore, you have to continue to prove yourself on a regular basis. Ideally, you want a service that is on a subscription, or a service that has a return customer relationship. You do not want to be doing one-off services like, I don't know, shoe cleaning, something where people won't come back for a really long time. But you want to be on high intensity, high customer base, returning customer base services. You should not be thinking about investing. You need to be thinking about the fundamentals of business. All the first businesses that I started were service-based businesses where I offered a service on a monthly package, whether it was doing marketing for restaurants, whether it was whatever it may be. We had these monthly retainers with people, and we learned the importance of services and high quality products, meeting our KPIs, meeting our deadlines, and utilizing other people's dime to learn the craft. With low skill sets, right, not a lot of money, they can go ahead and get started and implement basically yesterday. The next one, we have our digital goods. Our digital goods are going to be everything that has to do with our digital lives, right? So it can be Spotify subscription, it can be a course, it can be Netflix. Your digital goods are all intangible products that you cannot touch, right? Like you cannot touch a Pirates of the Caribbean movie, but you can watch it. Digital goods are extremely valuable as they require little to no inventory, and you don't really have to manage supply chain. It just exists. I created a PDF, I think about 2 years ago, that did about $250,000 in sales. It was a PDF called The Anthropology of Consumerism and Product Research Methodology, where I teach people the psychology of consumer behavior and why people select the products that they select, and that it doesn't come down to the product. Comes down to the individual and understanding who your ideal customer and your ideal avatar is. That is how you find winning products, when you find winning audiences, not when you find a winning product. There is no such thing as a winning product. Every product is a winning product. It just has to be sold to the winning person. I know a lot of people talk about finding a winning product in dropshipping, but they don't understand that every product is a winner if shown to the right audience. It's all about winning audiences. And when you can understand how audiences move, how audiences operate, how they're divided, how their demographic is conjugated and put together, then you'll understand the products that serve these people best. Most people will not tell you this, because most people have not unlocked this level of e-commerce knowledge because they haven't done tens of millions of dollars that'll get them to that point. So take it for what it's worth. So I know a lot of you guys haven't heard that, and it's extremely valuable. You have winning audiences, not just winning products. And I teach that in the PDF. That PDF will be available inside Capital Club when it opens up. When we're inside Capital Club, you'll be able to ask the e-commerce experts in there regarding your store. We'll even have a sector where you can have your store reviewed by one of our professionals. Now, A lot of people want to jump into digital goods because they don't necessarily understand that having another one that is a digital good would be like OnlyFans, right? Like that is technically a digital good. I think it's a combination between services and digital goods, but I think it couldn't exist without the digital part, which is kind of what makes it what it is. What I like about digital goods is that even though the startup cost initially is bigger because you have bugs, you have kinks that you have to fix, you have issues, you have errors, usually the maintenance cost of it is not as high, right? Let's say you run a software and you're teaching people how to scrape products off of Shopify stores, and that is your software. We usually have your development cost, your maintenance cost, your management costs of your team, your server cost, and then usually the rest is pretty much upside, and it has to do with your ability to attract customers. So I never recommend digital goods right off the bat, because unless you're the individual that's actually doing the programming, I would not go out and spend money on programming, designing apps, developing apps, doing a lot of this garbage that a lot of people want to do, because it's usually difficult to have a successful app, to have an app that's fully developed, especially if you have no like app background or coding background. Digital goods are very good. The returns are extremely high versus the initial startup cost, but they're not going to teach you right off the bat all the essential sectors of a business like services would. So digital goods are extremely important, but digital goods for me are the final frontier if you're trying to build something massive. The second one that we have, and the third one, and this is kind of where I started, and I'll explain it to you guys, are physical goods. And that's going to be our e-commerce store. That's going to be, our brand that has a clothing line. That's going to be our makeup kits. Those are going to be our LED lights, our cameras, our watch collection, our luxury watches, our cars. These are physical goods. Physical goods is highly competitive, especially online in the internet nowadays. Physical goods are extremely complicated to manage because you have additional costs. You have rolling cost, ongoing cost of inventory. You have ongoing cost of supply chain management, and depending on the type of e-commerce that you run or physical good kind of sale that you run, usually it requires building a brand, right? So you can build a brand in different avenues. The thing is, I personally don't love building a brand behind a single product, right? The moment you do that, your brand dies when the product becomes irrelevant. So I've kind of come to realize the importance of understanding how to do physical products, like physical goods, and have a background in physical goods. But it wouldn't be the first frontier I would tackle. A lot more moving parts. I would start with services, right? You have your initial service, what you want to offer. You have your product, whatever it is. You mow the lawn, you cut down branches. I have a buddy of mine that makes $250,000 a year cutting branches off of trees for the neighborhood, right? Not just his neighborhood. It's quite a big operation at this point, but he does extremely well. So you can't knock services because they're just not as flashy as other things, but the startup cost is extremely low. Not only is the startup cost extremely low, but the risk to reward ratio is also tilted to your favor. I got a question about, would you start trading? Well, trading is a high risk, high reward, and it doesn't matter how you want to twist it long term. If you hold all this, there's a reason 70% of traders lose. The reason 70% of traders lose is because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about or what they're doing, because they want to make money, but they don't understand how the markets work. So I wouldn't consider the stock market kind of in these three categories. I would put them in more so a multiplication category of making money. I wouldn't consider it like a job in and of itself, nor would it be the first vehicle of making money. Because if you're not making a ton of money and you lose money in the stock market, it'll mentally fuck with you. It'll mentally really fuck with you. So I remember, when I didn't have a lot of money and I was out here buying stocks, and when the stocks would go down $50, I'd be like, well, there goes fucking half a day's worth of wages, and I would measure it based off of the time that I had, right? So it wasn't really fucking good for my mindset. But if you have steady income coming in, now you can start to learn how to multiply your money. But we're not talking about money multiplication. We're talking about being able to earn money. You need to commit to one of them. So here we have a couple categories for you guys. Is going to give you a massive advantage. You are not going to be the best in everything that you do your entire life. It is impossible. It is undeniable that you cannot accomplish that. But what you can accomplish is becoming extremely good at one thing. And the thing that you're really good at make sure that not a lot of people can be good at that thing, and make sure that your ability to be replaced is very difficult. That's why you're guaranteeing yourself on a regular basis a seat at the table, because you are offering a service that very few people can offer. You're offering it better than any other individual, and you're hard to replace. Usually digital goods nowadays, they have, like I said, a upfront cost, but they don't have that lagging inventory over your head. You do require some sort of technical background in order to get into digital goods. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, hit the like button. I gave you some sauce. Nobody's giving you the sauce. We already know. There's all these dropshipping channels on the internet, right? All these dumbass dropshipping channels on the internet, and none of them have told you this. None of them. Zero. I can guarantee you. I can promise you. Zero. This is where I started. I started selling marketing services. Why? Because I wanted to learn how to get really good with marketing. So I was like, well, might as well just guinea pig a person and let them pay me. So the first thing that I did was services. I offered 3 different types of services over the course of about 1.5 years, 2 years. And then I transitioned to physical goods, okay? Physical goods. The problem with physical goods is that you are limited by the quality of the supply chain. It's extremely important to understand that the quality of the supply chain that you have is going to determine your ability to have a successful business that runs smoothly. Most people at dropship do not have their logistics set in place, and then they wonder why their orders aren't fulfilling is because they didn't do their due diligence. They were just relying on a third-party provider and not running business like entrepreneurs. They were running it like side hustlers and amateurs. That is my new favorite word, amateurs. You are not just a noob, you're not just a peasant, you are an amateur. And if you want to win and you want to play in the big leagues, you need to understand that there's no fucking amateurs allowed. There are no amateurs at the big dog table. They'll eat you fucking alive, they'll spit you out, and you'll be fucking dust. That is the name of the game. There's ruthless motherfuckers out there that'll come and eat your lunch. And if you are an amateur, you're not going to make it. So my job is to turn you into a fucking professional that understands how to elevate in business, in life, and eventually actually become successful. We have our physical goods. Why did I transition out of services and into physical goods? My time started to become more valuable than the money I was making. Okay, so my time became more valuable to me than the money that I was generating. So the moment your time becomes more valuable than the money that you're generating, then you need to reassess your business, right? Because the goal is to gain more time freedom, not less of it. So then I transitioned to e-commerce. The reason I saw e-commerce as a viable alternative, and it's much different than it is today, is because the barrier to entry was a little bit higher than it is today. So at its time, you required some technicality and some kind of professionalism to get into e-commerce and really a basic understanding of how to run a business. My biggest issues with e-commerce nowadays are a few of them. One is very fucking competitive, right? The ad spend is very competitive. Sure, you can do extremely well. Sure, you can have a super profitable month, but you can't just rely on just straight cold traffic to run something sustainable long term, right? You are going to require back-end marketing systems, retargeting ads, retargeting funnels, lifetime value of the customer mapped and journeyed so that you know where the customer starts, where the customer finishes. Now more customers than ever are educated and informed regarding digital marketing and advertising. And 5 or 7 years ago, you would have never really recognized a sponsored post on the internet, like the Ty Lopez ad of Here in My Garage with the Lambo. When I clicked on it back in 2013, I didn't know it was an ad. I just saw that it was there before the YouTube video that I was going to watch, and I was like, okay, I'm curious. Nowadays, people are extremely informed. So the ability to have an e-commerce store that is successful in the same rate or proportion that it was 5 years ago is just completely ludicrous. It's going to require a lot more effort, a lot more intentionality, a lot more time, a lot more money, and the competition is a lot more fierce. The barrier to entry into this space is extremely low, so anybody can come in and fuck up your niche, fuck up your product, copy your product in a span of a week. So you need to be extremely conscientious of that. So the solution to that is to build a meaningful brand, and a brand that the product transcends just a short-term culture trend or a short-term fidget spinner trend, right? You want to be able to outlast that. Sure, you can make a ton of money, but if you want to run a sustainable business, I recommend going in that direction. Drop shipping, how it used to be, no longer works in the same way, right? You can't just launch a picture ad store and expect it to be a sustainable long-term business. It doesn't work that way. Somebody said, do you have a Discord server? You can follow me at Luke Belmar on Instagram if you haven't already. Please tell me in the comments section what business or endeavor you're currently in. And if you're not in one, tell me what you currently do, whether it's a job, whether it's in school, whatever it is, tell me that for us to do millions and millions and millions of dollars a month in sales in e-commerce when all you did was just have a little bit more business acumen than the average fucking 19-year-old selling on a dumb shit bullshit ass store. Right? It wasn't very hard. Netflix and subscribers, which we never thought was possible. We never thought that Netflix would be dethroned, but Netflix has